I'm not signed into what?
Good morning, everyone. Today is Saturday, May 24th, 2014. This is the headlines from the Dunker Bunker, your weekly audio source for all things 1689. My name is Patrick McWilliams, and today I am joined by my co-hosts
Jason Delgado.
Junior Duran.
and
The very sick Javier.
Javi. You get sick more than anybody else I know.
I'm very sickly. I kind of picked up on that. And I think it lasts pretty long because I don't go to the doctor very often either, so I sort of just stick it out. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm good. I'm still working fine. Just like a rusty machine. So.
That's good.
Good morning, everyone.
At least you're with us this morning. We got plenty of news for you guys, and we'll start off with Jason's got a few upcoming events coming up.
Yeah, two events, both international. The first one, a couple events in the UK that Jeremy Walker filled us in about. The first one is May 21st to 23rd, which, well, it actually already happened, so we'll probably highlight some of the audio there. We usually always highlight the Grace Baptist Assembly there in the UK area. So Jeremy Walker himself was talking about the theme building healthy churches. So I forgot that already happened. So we'll try to feature some of the audio whenever they make it available. And if I remember last year, it took them about a month to make it all available. But anyways, another upcoming event is June 2nd, which is a Monday. It's the Effective Evangelism Conference at Grace Baptist Church at Edlesborough. I don't know how to spell these UK names. But anyways, it's going to be 4 men. They'll be addressing various aspects of the labor of the church to reach the lost, door-to-door work, open-air preaching, small groups, and dedicated seasons. And then the emphasis will be on the principled and practical equipment of those eager to preach the gospel for the task in hand. All are welcome. So y'all will want to check that out.
I wonder if dedicated seasons might be dedicated sessions. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not verbiage we use here in America. Huh? Dedicated seasons. Yeah, I don't know if that means like spend a couple weeks with specific evangelistic type sermons or something. I don't know. That's my assumption.
But. Also, in Africa, is the 25th annual Reform Conference, and it features Conrad Mbuwe, Bodie Malcolm, and Ken Jones, popular names among Reformed Baptists. It's the 25th, again, annual Reform Conference there. It happens August 25th through the 29th at Lusaka Baptist Church, and this year's theme is 25 Years of Reformation, Running Forward, Remaining Faithful. And again, speakers are Bodie Malcolm, Ken Jones, and Conrad himself, and Mbuwe, the Charles Spurgeon of 21st century, right? Is that what they call him? And topics there. Let's see here. All again, the theme is 25 years, and that's it. That's all I got.
That's funny.
Anyway, it looks like a good conference. I hope they put the audio up there. It looks like a good speaker set.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what God's doing in Africa. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just when you think about all of the active denominations out there, in their work, I know we've kind of talked about this before, but man, it's surprising to see how they're growing so much. And then you look at the picture in America, and you're kind of like, the church is in decline maybe. But if you look at Africa, man, the church is thriving. That's really good.
Yeah, definitely the Anglican Church is strong.
The Anglican Church. Yeah. Every conservative denomination that's gone, or every denomination that's gone liberal here is conservative in Africa, pretty much. But this week we posted some audio, Wrestling with Contentment conference, featuring Tabidi Anyobwile and more. Rick Phillips and Tabidi recently teamed up in Albuquerque, New Mexico to address the theme of contentment in the Christian life, and was attended by 700 people from across the region. I'm assuming it was a Together for the Gospel regional conference.
Yeah.
Those names sound familiar.
Yeah,
Because of the Gospel Coalition. Not Together for the Gospel Coalition.
They just team up with the Gospel Coalition. It's like one of their sub their little sub conferences they have around the country thing.
Yeah, and but yeah, and so we posted the audio for that. We've had Tabidi on the show once, I think, on the podcast once. Man, that guy's a good guy, and he's very edifying.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear him talk about contentment. That issue of contentment's one of those ones that I don't know any Christian who's got that one down.
Right.
Have you read or I never read it all the way, but the Precious Jewel.
Oh yeah.
By Jeremiah Burroughs.
Jeremiah Burroughs. Oh yeah, dude.
Where he died like discontent.
Dude, first chapter wrecks me, and then from there it's all like, man, that's a very humbling book.
Kyle pointed that out in the book. He's like, the irony about this book, he's talking about contentment, but the guy was like still really like discontent. I was like, well, it's kind of funny. But
yeah, I mean that's one of those things. If you held up a pastor to, you can't preach this unless you've got it down perfectly. They're not going to talk about anything.
They can't preach on anything.
They can tell you the good news, and then they're not gonna, yeah. But anyways.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, is it me?
Hey, Junior, you want to tell us about that one you posted? Because you highlighted a Redeemer Radio spot, even though we've talked about them before. You highlighted one specific one.
Yeah, it's Redeemer Radio, and it's a radio ministry of Reformed Baptist Church of Redlands, California, with Jeff Massey and Steve Markedon, and I think they're actually like on the air over there. And
they are. They're on like Fridays at 3 p.m.
Yeah, Fridays at 3.
Or specific.
Sorry. Right. So last Friday, not yesterday, but the Friday before, they did this is part one. Last Friday, part one, an interview with Pastor Sam Renihan on God's Covenant, chapter 7. They're going through the London Baptist Confession of Faith, and so again, last Friday was part one. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I encourage you all to check it out. I'm waiting for the audio to be posted for part two, because Pastor Sam said something at the end of part one. He said. The new covenant and the covenant of grace are the same thing. So I'm waiting to hear him explain how people were studying the Old Testament. So I'm looking forward to part two, waiting for the audio to come up eagerly on the edge of my seat. But yeah, so it was good. It was really good. Oh, and I want to add that Pastor Sam Renihan, I don't know if James Renihan is a pastor, right? Yeah. There are other Pastor Renihans out there, so that's why I'm saying his first name.
No, yeah. James Renihan, he is an elder there.
Is he an elder? Because there's a pastor. I think is Micah a pastor somewhere in the East Coast?
He is, with Ron Baines.
And then there's their uncle,
Mike Renihan.
Mike Renihan. Yeah. So I'm saying Pastor Sam Renihan.
It's the Renihan dynasty. I told him that.
So I'm saying Sam on purpose. So Pastor Sam is probably the only person I can think of that I can engage in adult Christian disagreement with online. He's the only person I know who doesn't resort to sarcasm and this is a lot of petty stuff, childish stuff that I see out there. So kudos to Pastor Sam for keeping it real and keeping it Christian.
Keeping it Christian.
Yeah. Good example. If you want to see how to comment on online, go read Pastor Sam's comments.
Yeah, on our post, you mean?
On our anything.
Oh, I thought you meant this particular one because I saw like you and him were kind of talking.
But I've seen him interact, and that's how he does like all the time, like on Facebook or any other comments. So.
Yeah. We also posted the second episode of the Reformed Baptist Book Review with Pascal Deneau and Eric Ayala. This one, we streamed it live on May 16th, so just a few days ago. They talked about the book Truth Matters, Confident Faith in a Confusing World by Andreas, I don't know how to pronounce that little...
Kostenberger?
Is it Kostenberger? I had a professor one time that called it Kustenberger, and I'm like...
Okay, all right.
But he pronounced a lot of things weird, so I'm not that. Daryl Bach and Josh Chatraw.
Chatraw, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go with that. Why do I get all the ones that are like questionable pronunciations? At least I can say
We
Anya
do that on
Bule.
purpose.
I can say Anya Bule.
Yeah.
I can say that too.
No, that's good. That's good.
And Sabini, yeah.
Jason can't.
No.
Well, Jason can't say Ayala.
I know, which is funny because it's a Hispanic last name.
I know.
Oh, and just I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Patrick knows this, but the Reformed Baptist Book Review is actually an extension of our podcast, and it's something that we introduced a while back, and so we put it out there whenever Pascal Deneau decides to put up a book review. So
Right.
we really appreciate those guys too. This week's podcast is the interview featuring Gary Long. I want to go ahead and take this, Jason, just because I need to apologize for the quality audio. Man, Ian Clary's mic just it did not sound good, and it was totally and completely my fault. But it was featuring Gary Long of Particular Baptist Press, and they talk a little bit about the history and how they go about publishing books. And you know what I've noticed. I mean, there's several things to notice about the interview itself, but one of the things that I've noticed about every single book that I've looked at from Particular Baptist Press is the quality of the book.
Oh yeah.
Like the quality is so good, and one of the things that he said on the interview is that they're committed to making the top-notch quality books, which is why you get, you know, the print looks so well, the pictures look so well, the binding is so good,
right, the binding,
the covers are so nice,
the sewing, yeah,
everything about their books is just top-notch quality, and he talks about that there, and he talks about how it came about, and he has some interesting connections. I think he's a former landmarker.
Yeah.
I think his church is still. I think he said they are still called Landmark Baptist, but they're not, which I thought was cool. And yeah, so you guys definitely need to check it out, and also go to the website. I think it's particularbaptistpress.com. There's a lot of good stuff on there. A lot of stuff on Particular Baptist. He basically said, why do Particular Baptists and Reformed Baptists have to take sort of a backseat in scholarship when we have our own scholars? And so that's what he's committed to. That's the purpose of the website, and I think he does a good job executing it. And he's a super nice guy. He's a very great guy, and so I recommend that to the great listener.
Javi, do you know how that interview came about? Like, how did Ian get a hold of Gary Long? Wasn't over the phone, right? Did they meet in person or?
Yeah, I think they met in person. I'm not sure where, to be honest. And sort of, I told, and we talked about it, and he said, "Hey, what about Gary Long?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and the audio quality was just because I sort of let them go without checking the audio well. It didn't sound too bad. I think I heard it once and stepped away for a while because I was during the day, so I was busy doing other things, and it just it didn't come out too well. So it's not Ian's fault. It's mine.
And the website
I
is
take
actually
full responsibility. Go ahead.
The website is actually pbpress.org.
pbpress.org. Wow, that was really wrong.
But we have links and all, and there'll be links in this podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so you guys make sure and check out the blog, podcast about it.
Junior, did you get to check out James White's video about with the pro-abortion argument?
I haven't yet. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. He has a.
But I like when he does the that step-by-step presuppositional thing where he critiques it. I like it when he does that on arguments.
Yeah, he does that with this one with a particular pro-abortion argument, but also on that post.
What's the argument? Do you know?
You have to listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, he does that with various things. He'll engage the argument. It's really good when he does that. I love it when he does that.
Because I haven't heard it, so.
We also got a bonus tech tip from? Was that just from Jason? Was that just Jason showing off his nerd
I think that
knowledge?
was. I think it was both. I think it was both of them.
Okay. Because we gave us a tech tip on how to speed up YouTube videos and watch them at different speeds so you can get through more of it.
You know what? I think it was Jason.
I have to ask Jason why on my like podcasts on my iPod I'm allowed to speed those up or slow those down, but I can't do that with regular audio, which is really annoying because a lot of the audio like sermons and
Oh yeah,
lectures I
yeah.
listen to are just regular MP3s. They're not put out as podcasts, but it would be nice to be able to speed some of those up.
Well, on your phone or is this on iTunes?
This is on my iPod.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how to use those things anymore.
Anyway.
Yeah, Javi. Javi, you got next.
Sure. Oh goodness. The brouhaha concerning antinomianism and our conduct. By Jeremy Walker. As the brouhaha concerning antinomianism continues to develop with fallout in various spheres, it is sad to see the vagueness, brutality, and confusion that seems to spring up in its wake. More or less prevalent and evident depending on the medium employed. Vagueness because lots of people seem to have something to say, but not all of them are making plain that they are saying it. Brutality because they relish, which some Christians take up the verbal weapons and charge into such conflicts, is always tragic in a fallen world. Such controversy is a necessary evil, never a gleeful melee.
Melee.
I never know how to pronounce that word. M-E-L. Melee. Anyway, that's an article written at Reformation 21 by Jeremy Walker about the current sanctification controversy. And everyone knows if you are around and spend any time on any corner of the theological cyber world, you know what's going on because it's affected just about everyone. Unless
What are you talking about?
Whatever, dude. We've been talking about this too. Yeah, so
The gauntlet has been thrown down, right, or whatever.
Yeah, I think it started with Mark Jones challenging Tullian to debate, and then from there things just sort of escalated. People.
Any time, any place, man.
Yeah. You can debate them here if you want. Which should be fascinating. I mean, we wouldn't mind hosting such.
We could do that.
Really? We would just host two PCA pastors. We would host a debate.
Yeah,
I would think just for fun.
I would think just for fun. But we'd have like some Baptist moderated, just so.
Well, wait. I don't think is Mark Jones PCA? I didn't think.
Yeah. Mark Jones is.
I'm thinking of Mark Garcia. Never mind. I'm thinking of Mark Garcia. Never mind.
No, Mark Garcia is at Westminster Seminary, any theological seminary.
No, he's at Reformed Presbyterian Theological Seminary.
Oh, okay. Tullian Trevisan is apparently has some antinomian tendencies, and some people have already drawn their theological lines and line in the sand, and people are sort of hopping on different sides. And the funny thing that I noticed was that like podcasts like hosts are like just like, I mean, Janet Mefford and Chris Rosebrough, and I think the guys from the Reformed Pubcast interviewed him, and like it seems really weird because it seems like the fighting is like really intense, and so
wow.
The Pirate Christian Radio's posted about Mark Jones and some of the I mean, I don't know the context, so I can't really say, but the things that he said in the book Antinomianism, which I never read, I heard the interview, it seemed really odd.
He's a Lutheran, though, isn't he?
Mark Jones?
No. No, Pirate Christian Radio.
Chris Rosebrough is a Lutheran, so
yeah, okay.
I mean, even some of the things they say would make a Baptist like me uncomfortable. So, but I don't know the context again, so I'm disclaimer, I haven't read the book, so.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of those people who, like Jeremy says, seems to have something to say or thinks that I do, but I do.
Right.
I mean, I have thoughts, but I haven't read or been exposed to. I feel like most of what's been going on. I haven't been able to follow too
Yeah.
closely.
Yeah,
But
I think I've listened to one Tullian sermon, and I've never picked up one of his books. I mean, I learned law gospel from Mike Horton or Scott Clark. So, I mean, I've read Mike Horton more than any of those other guys. But
and
anyway,
So you're on the Tullius
despite
side, is that what you're saying? What are you saying there?
what am I saying? What I'm saying is, I think that's where Tullian got it from.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so just go to the sources. But um, you know, they've had this issue. It's been going on for a while now. I mean, almost for years, I think, but it finally just sort of exploded in the last 2 weeks or week and a half. So I think Jimmy Walker just wrote on how we're to conduct ourselves in the current theological controversy. But no Baptists have really said much. Besides that, I don't know of anyone who's really commented. Um, Sort of
yeah, I
just
mean,
watching on the sidelines.
there's definitely. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of activity on
Twitter.
blogs that, well, not really Twitter. I'm not on Twitter too
Oh,
much. But on blogs where posts will be written and put up, material from historic theologians will be posted, and
yeah, that's true.
no names will be mentioned. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
headline of
yeah,
the post that says
yeah,
this is about the Tullian-Tchividjian controversy, and but
yeah.
it's like clearly okay. I know exactly why this person is posting this. I know exactly what they think about the whole thing just from this post from
yeah. It
some
seems like
historic
everyone's
theologian.
taking a side.
All of a sudden, law gospel is all over the place,
Yeah,
and which it is funny to me. Like it's interesting, and the reason why I feel like I don't get interested in jumping in and following it too hard is because like I know this pastor over here tends to side with Mark Jones, and this pastor over here tends to side with Tullian. And I'm reading posts from these two pastors, and I'm agreeing with everything they're saying. So it's like it's just it gets I don't know what the right word is. It's exhausting to try and
Yeah, that's a good
figure it
word.
all. To
hey, I
to
did. I did read something interesting though. I was reading Zacharias Ursinus
mhm.
Yeah,
on the covenant of
yeah.
grace and the covenant of works, and then I realized that Benjamin Keach talks a lot like Zacharias Ursinus
Is
on
that right?
the covenant of grace. Yeah, the law gospel. He distinguishes it the same way that Benjamin Keach does. Like the law is the covenant of works, grace is the covenant of grace. I mean, people can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but
First
that's what
sinus.
I
That's cool.
thought. Yeah, it was pretty neat, interesting
And that
parallel
wasn't
there.
from his exposition of the Heidelberg. That was from something else.
I I think it may have been. I'm not sure. I don't
Oh,
remember
okay.
what I was reading. Yeah, it was just a little
And
snippet that I read.
you know,
So I
I
would
do
pick up.
I want to say this. I want to say this with caution because I don't want to put anybody into a box or say anything and make this be a caricature. But one thing I have just noticed, maybe this is just because of who I'm friends with and who I've networked with online, but I have noticed that guys from the and gals from the uh, Puritan tradition, and when I say that, I'm talking about like the Westminster Standard
Westminster, yeah.
and the 1689. I don't know
Hmm.
anybody who holds the Savoy, but that those documents, they are tending, with some exceptions, to fall on the side of um, Mark
Mark Jones.
Jones. For
Right.
lack of a, I mean, that even that I feel like is a generalization. So maybe I
And
should.
Right.
I think that's a fair general, observation of
Yeah.
of the
What?
generalization.
Then I'm friends with because there's a guy I work with is helping to start a URC church plant uh
Yeah.
Hmm.
in my area, and through that, like I'm helping him with that when and where I can and when and where it's appropriate. But like so I'm friends with a bunch of URC guys, and they hold to the three forms of unity, and I've seen a slight pattern that they tend to be a little more defensive.
Yep.
Um, but it's not really so much
It's like
defensive of Tullian in particular,
uh,
um, but more defensive against some of the comments made against law gospel distinction because there's
hmm
been some I think there's been some explicit comments and some vagaries um, made about how the law gospel distinction is a Lutheran thing, and they are like coming out of the woodwork saying no, it's not, and like posting
Yeah, it's
all sorts of stuff, and they're mad about that.
it's kind of funny because it seems like the Dutch guys, Dutch Reform versus
Continental Reform.
this,
Continental
yeah, the
Reform.
Continental Reform guys, and then the 16. Well, you know, I haven't heard too. Like I said, yeah, you're right. It seems like whatever Baptist that I've read has taken more of a Westminster style, and I don't even know if that's a fair distinction. Like, I'll be honest, is the tradition that different? Well, some Dutch guys would want
Well,
to, or some
yeah,
Continental
I
guys
don't
would say
think that
yes,
it
it is,
is.
but
I don't think that it is. From what I've read and from what I've known, but I've just seen like that lines have sort of developed. But
yeah.
maybe that's just me reading into it. But
No,
I do
I
think
think
it's
I've seen that.
interesting
I've picked up on that, dude.
because
And you only need
because
two
you do
lines
have
too.
particular Baptists that are using, uh, I mean, we have Collins Orthodox Catechism,
Hmm.
and we have these documents as well. So there's certainly so much
Yeah, I mean,
overlap that.
I guess we would have to say though that the Orthodox Catechism was never actually like universally held though. It was
Yeah, it
only
was not
for this
adopted
church.
by the
Yeah,
assembly. Yeah.
True.
yeah. The London the confession was, and obviously that's sort of more in line with the Westminster Savoy.
And so was the catechism. They
Yeah,
were
and
published together by the assembly as well.
yeah. So I
The,
mean, maybe
the Baptist catechism, yeah.
maybe something
So all
something
that to
fair to
say,
observe.
that's just an observation on my part, and please don't read anything into that. Please don't send us angry emails.
You're an antinomian,
Please,
dude. You're an
like
antinomian.
it's not. No, just don't do
Well,
that.
I think I think it's a fair, you call it a generalization, and I think that's
Hmm.
fair. And I know I just want to note that both Horton and Clark are reform, three forms of unity guys.
Hmm.
They get
Yeah.
labeled as Presbyterians for some reason. I don't know why. I think
Yeah.
I've heard people do that. Like they're not Presbyterians.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, even that. I've heard URC guys refer to themselves as being Presbyterians. So
Oh, is that right?
that term can be. It all depends on how narrow or broad you want to use that term. Kind of like gospel. Huh.
And the law. No.
And the law.
Yeah. There's a narrow sense and a broad sense, but let's not get into too much of that because, like I
Let's
said, I
not
don't.
expose our opinions. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So anyway,
So speaking of law and gospel, Patrick.
speaking of law and gospel and things that don't really have to do with that, um, Jeff Riddle had posted a link to a conversation that he had with somebody on the New Testament use of the Septuagint. Um, is this one that we talked about last week? Did I mention this last week?
You know what? I think you did. Eventually, you did mention it last week. It was
You know what?
into the
It was a
podcast.
Baptist thing, I think, last week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that was a good post, and the conversation with that friend, that was actually me. He didn't mention me by name because he didn't want to embarrass me for my stupid questions. But I just wanted to pick his brain a little bit because I know that one of his big interests is textual criticism and
Right, it is.
textual basis and translation philosophy and all that. He likes all that stuff, and I kind of do too. I dabble in it a little bit. It's more like I barely scratch the surface, but I just think the whole endeavor is interesting, whereas a lot of people think it's just like the most boring thing in the world. So yeah, that was a cool little exchange.
He said something that I really appreciated, and because I never thought of before. I'm going to quote from him. It says, at the least, the Septuagint's appearance and usage says that believers hold that one can read the Bible in translation, and it can be the Word of God. Unlike Islam, which says one must know Arabic to read the Quran, biblical believers have never said you must know Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek to read the Bible.
Yeah,
I
funny.
appreciated that.
Yeah, because you're not actually reading the Quran unless you're reading
Right.
Arabic. And
Right.
you know what's funny is when you become a Muslim, you don't only become you don't just change religions, you change culture entirely. Like,
Right.
I mean, a lot of the stuff sort of runs contrary to, or even like say a Hispanic, we love pork, and it's just contrary to just being a Muslim, period.
Carnitas,
So you
yeah.
adopt the culture. Carnitas, yes, yes, carnitas, dude. I love carnitas. Speaking of Muslims, though, there's a good debate that we have. I'm sorry, Patrick. Did you have anything else to say?
No, not really. I mean,
No,
I
no,
feel like
no.
whenever I got to talk with him last year at the Keach conference.
Yeah.
I got to talk with him a little bit about textual criticism issues and stuff, and it was really interesting. That's why, like, every time I come up with a question on that, I send him a quick email. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Um, I just feel like one question always leads to like 10 other questions for that topic, though, and I can get lost in it pretty easily. But that's
But
all.
his comment there that I read, the quote, I think can be applied to KJV only guys, and so that's why I appreciate that comment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So speaking of Muslims, what?
Yeah. James White recently debated. Well, I think this was a while back. Bashir Vania, and at least that's how he says it. So that's how I will say it. And the debate took place in, I think it was South Africa. Let's see. Yep, on October 2nd, 2013. It's in 4 parts. It's a video, so it's on YouTube. And we just gave you a tech tip to speed up the video. So if you want to listen to it a little faster, it's the debate topic is, can God become man? And I know James White, and I think it's a very noble task is to take on these Muslims.
Right.
I really, I don't know how he does it, but some of those arguments are just so horrible from Muslims, not from James White. If you listen to any debate, and if you listen to debates, so I've listened to a lot of them, with James White, with those guys at Answering Islam, there's a few other guys, and the arguments are either recycled from one source material from
Yes. Yeah.
which is and they're so amateur. You hear them and you just kind of want to roll your eyes. You're just like, wow, I can't believe we've developed this doctrine for thousands of years, and this is what you're going to bring to us. And unfortunately, I'm grateful that James White does do it, but some of the stuff, the man has a lot of patience, and he has to deal with a lot of just very amateurish debate tactics, but either way, if you like hearing Muslims, if you do deal with Muslims on a daily basis, or ever have evangelized to Muslims, I would recommend this debate and others to you that James White has on his website and on the YouTube vlog for you, because he has several, and just don't be surprised when you hear the same arguments over and over and over by other Muslims, because that's all they do is just sort of recycle each other.
What's the same thing with atheists too? I mean, the angry atheist, they do the same thing. They quote the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and it comes around. You see it all the time. Like every other year on the internet, you see the same thing about the quote from those Old Testament quotes about.
Oh yeah, evil.
You know what I'm talking about. You see that every year. Like is it once a year? I think they do that. Like every Easter, they'll come up with the same stuff.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it's specifically with Muslims. It's just I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're like just so just kept in ignorance by just where they are as far as theologically, and they don't really, or they're not really probably not encouraged them to read other kinds of writers or other theologies. But the argument, and the thing is though, they get the theology from the Quran, and that's not good. And so I think they should sort of transfer it. So I guess we can't blame them, because that's just how shallow their arguments are in their own holy text, and so I hope I don't get a fatwa or something. I don't think an Ayatollah listens to the Confessing Baptist, which would be cool.
They might.
Would be cool if Ayatollah Khomeini, which one's the one that's alive, Khomeini, actually listened to our podcast. We should email it to him. Oh, that'd be so funny, dude, if we emailed it.
What's your address? We'll send your address to him.
Yeah, I have a few Muslim. Okay, anyway, but I'm getting off topic. You guys, take a listen. It's good stuff. So.
All right, and I'm going to take care of the BaptistBot stuff here, guys.
Sure, bro.
So so we just finished our highlights of the week. Again, these aren't every single podcast. This isn't every single post we had on the Confessing Baptist blog. Just the highlights of the week. There's other stuff out there. Go ahead and check it out. For the Baptibot, again, the Baptibot just feeds that we see during the week. We will all let y'all know about some of these highlights from the Baptibot. Make it to post. So next week you might see some of these. One of them, Cradle Covenant Fellowship podcast. They sit down, Billy and JD sit down and discuss Emily's abortion video by Emily Letts. And they also feature an audio excerpt from a speech given by Gianna Jensen. So check that one out. Tom Nettles, Dr. Tom Nettles, is going through the what started off by one of the caners. I can't remember which one, Emir or Ergen, about Andrew Fuller, how they're rewriting history. And so Tom Nettles has been rewriting that. And this week he talks about Andrew Fuller and David Allen, Part 1. So you can check that out. And then again, so Dr. Tom Nettles over at the Southern Baptist Seminary, Theological Seminary, has retired. And so last week a lot of tributes have been done to him. We have one by Matthew Barrett, Dr. Michael Haken, Jeff Robinson, Sean Michael Lucas, and others. And we're going to round those up for you and hopefully put them in a post for you guys. So those are just from the Baptibot feed. It's a different feed, but it's still on our website. Check it out.
Yeah, and many thanks to Dr. Tom Nettles for his work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On behalf of us here at the Confessing Baptist, I speak for all of us. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you so much. We do have some Twitter highlights. There's some pre-publication special from Founders Press for newly revised From the Protestant Reformation to the SBC by Tom Ascol. It's available at Founders Press for $7.50, and they usually make those available in ebook formats for $2. Vodi Bakum interview in Ministry and Leadership, Spring-Summer 2014 EMAG with RTS Houston. Then there's some Russian resources from James White on the Carmen Christi, Philippians 2:6-11, in the IRBS Journal and Grieving Conference with Dr. O on the IBS, not IRBS. I was like, what? I haven't heard this.
I know, right?
Yeah. But guys, and I think that's it. Do you guys have anything else?
I stepped away for just a second. Did we talk about the Charles Spurgeon giveaway?
We didn't.
I think we skipped that by accident. But yeah, we had a link this week to a giveaway where you could win a page of sermon notes handwritten by Charles Spurgeon. So you can frame it and put it on your wall and turn toward it when you pray and bow before it 3 times a day. No, I'm just kidding. The winner of this contest, though, will receive a framed single page from Charles Haddon Spurgeon's handwritten sermon notes from a sermon that he preached on March 28, 1886, from Mark 3:5, and the sermon's title is Jesus Angry with Hard Hearts. It has a certificate of validation and authenticity, so you don't think that people are just kind of scribbling on these pages and sending them off and selling them on eBay and stuff. I'm not sure how. It's coming up close though. Like you only have a few more days left. I'm not sure when the deadline is, but I know the winner.
Deadline either. Yeah.
The winner will be notified on June 11th, and the drawing is sponsored by Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. And getting entries to win involve things like following them on Twitter and on Facebook and things of that nature. So thank you to Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary for doing this cool giveaway. I entered as much as I can because Javi has banned me from entering any giveaways that we do, so I am forced to look elsewhere for Baptist giveaways.
Like outside of us. So, but yeah, I think that's it, everyone. Thank you for listening. Make sure and send us an email if you have any questions. Go to our contact page and leave us a voicemail if you want. We don't get too many, which is fine. That makes me comfortable and makes me think you're happy with everything that we say. If you're unhappy, you can leave us a voicemail and tell us how unhappy you are. If you're really happy, you can leave us a voicemail and tell us how happy you are.
And if you're happy and you know it,
clap your hands.
Clap your hands. Or you can do the Father Abraham song. You remember that, right?
Yeah. Many songs.
Father Abraham had many sons. Yeah, that was that. Yes.
I'm compelled. I'm compelled to do that. Have you seen the videos on or I think they're like Vines, with the cup song? Like that guy is
Oh.
like doing random.
Yeah.
Things. He hears a cup song and he can't stop himself. Like he was pouring a pitcher of iced tea, and that was hilarious because the pitcher just goes flying. Yeah, it's like.
Did you guys make sure and let us know if you have any questions? We can try to answer them. If not, we have some friends sometimes who are willing to do it. And we really appreciate you for listening. So thank you guys, and I think we're done.
Have a great Resurrection Sunday this Sunday.
And a good Memorial Day if you're in the U.S.
Yeah, there you go. Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.